After about 2 years of spreading misinformation about Shisha, Foodie has finally had to admit that she's wrong. In yesterday's live stream, she hinted at some sort of medical issue that led her to this conclusion. So here's what she had to say about it.
You know, that I've been quitting, not eating, not resorting to foods at night to keep me occupied and comforted. So I've kind of been Hi Buttercup smoking shisha more lately, but I quit that too. And I'm kind of depressed a bit because like the shisha was making me feel ill and like my heart would pound. Hey duck puppet, and I read that replacing an addiction, yeah. So exactly, like before I smoked shisha, but not every night. And I noticed like I was dizzy and like my heart was racing, and I'm like, I think my blood pressure is going up. Um, so I read that even just like 30 minutes of shisha can drastically raise your blood pressure. Yeah, and it's really bad for your lungs and cardiovascular system. We all know that, but whatever. Um,
I'm gonna channel my inner goose chuck here and say, good job, genius. People have been telling you for well over a year how bad Shisha is, and you just don't listen. In case you didn't see it the first time around, here's an excerpt of the video that I did on the subject. And after this came out, even her beezers were telling her that Shisha was bad. Next, let's turn to a different source, or this article from the Journal of Oral Biology and Craniofacial Research. Before we get into the effects of Shisha smoking on the human body, let's take a look at the hookah mechanism and how it actually works. Flavored tobacco is loaded into a bowl at the top of the apparatus, and hot coals are placed on top. As the tobacco smolders, the smoke is pushed down into a water chamber, and then it bubbles back up through it, sort of like a filter. The user then sucks the tobacco smoke out of the top of the chamber through a hookah pipe, so the water acts just like the filter at the end of a cigarette. Now, if you're thinking that this sounds just as bad as smoking conventional cigarettes, you're wrong. It's much, much worse. The reason why people say it's the equivalent of smoking 100 cigarettes is because you're constantly pulling in smoke for 60 to 90 minutes. Despite the initial filtration through the water, the smoke still contains particulate matter like nicotine, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen oxide. As if that wasn't bad enough, the coals used at the top of the shisha are also emitting their own carbon monoxide. It's these inhaled particulates and dangerous gases that have major effects on the human body, as well as secondhand smoke to household pets. Just because it doesn't smell as bad as cigarette smoke doesn't mean that shisha smoke isn't worse. Most of the diseases you would associate with shisha smoking are the same as those that you would consider with cigarette smoking, like cancer of the esophagus, stomach, bladder, colorectal region, and nasopharyngeal region. With her history of lung issues, Chantal should be particularly worried about the respiratory effects of smoking shisha. It can lead to COPD, bronchitis, nasal congestion, and much worse. It's a well-known fact that nicotine is a vasoconstrictor, which means that it makes your heart work harder and can raise your blood pressure significantly. Last, but certainly not least, Chantal will really need to take care of her teeth because shisha smoking can lead to periodontal disease. Now, before I go, I just wanted to have a little chat about consequences. A lot of times, people like to say that Foodie's like the cockroach of Girl World. She just keeps coming back. Rest assured, the consequences of her actions are actually coming home to roost. The shisha use is just one example of this. Eating whatever she wants, whether it's on camera or behind the scenes, is going to have its consequences as well. It's just a matter of time. Drop me a line in the comments and let me know what you think about all of this. I'd love to hear from you.
no heart attack. Hi, Robin. I know. It is bad for you. Worse than I thought, so you guys were right with that. I'll give you that W.